The crystal chandelier threw fractured light across Daniel Blackwood's study as Emma Torres stood frozen in the doorway. Outside, waves crashed against the cliffs below the mansion, but all she could hear was the roar of blood in her ears. "You want me to pretend to be your wife?" Her voice came out flat, disbelieving. Daniel turned from the window, his tailored suit doing nothing to hide the tension in his shoulders. At 34, he looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. For 1 week. "That's all I'm asking." Emma gripped the doorframe. In 3 years as Grace's nanny, she'd kept her distance, professional, safe. Now he was asking her to cross a line she'd never dreamed existed. "The Yamamoto merger," Daniel continued, stepping closer. "It's the only thing standing between Grace and losing everything her mother left behind. Mr. Yamamoto only deals with married men. He thinks widowers are unstable. So you need a wife for show. I need you." The words hung between them like smoke. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. She thought of her mother's latest medical bills, the stack of red-stamped envelopes she couldn't bring herself to open. The experimental treatment that could save her life cost more than Emma would make in 5 years. $100,000, Daniel said quietly, "plus whatever your family needs for medical care." Emma's knees went weak. She sank into the leather chair behind her, staring at the Persian rug beneath her feet. Her mother was dying. Her brother was drowning in student loans, and here was Daniel Blackwood, offering her a lifeline wrapped in deception. What would I have to do? Wear my ring, attend dinners, smile at the right moments. His jaw tightened. Convince everyone that we're in love. A bitter laugh escaped her throat. For 2 years, she'd hidden her feelings behind carefully constructed walls. Every morning, she watched him descend that grand staircase and felt something crack inside her chest. Every night, she went back to her apartment above the garage and reminded herself he was her employer. Nothing more. Now he was asking her to pretend. "Grace has been asking when you're going to find her a new mommy," Daniel said, and something in his voice made Emma look up. "She told me last week that she wishes you could be her real mother." The confession hit her like a physical blow. Sweet, brilliant Grace with her dark curls and infectious laugh. The little girl who'd lost her mother too young and clung to Emma like a lifeline. "This isn't fair," Emma whispered. "I know. You're asking me to lie to everyone, to Grace. I'm asking you to save her future." Daniel crouched in front of her chair, his green eyes burning with desperation. "Please, Emma, you're the only person I trust." She wanted to say no. Wanted to walk away from this impossible situation and protect what was left of her heart. But when she closed her eyes, she saw her mother's face, gaunt from chemotherapy, her brother's worried texts about next semester's tuition, and Grace. Always Grace. "When does this start?" Relief flooded Daniel's features. "Monday. First dinner at the Ritz-Carlton." "That's 3 days. I'll have everything arranged. Wardrobe, etiquette training, whatever you need." He reached out, hesitated, then took her hand. His palm was warm, callous despite his wealth. "Thank you, Emma. I know what this costs you." "You have no idea," she thought. That night, Emma stood in her tiny apartment, staring at the simple silver ring Daniel had given her to wear until they could get something more convincing. It caught the lamplight, throwing tiny rainbows across her wall. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "Feeling better today. Don't worry about me, sweetie." Emma's vision blurred. She slipped the ring onto her finger and made a promise to herself. 1 week. She could survive 1 week of pretending to be in love with the man who'd owned her heart for 2 years. What she didn't know was that some lies have a way of becoming truth. And some truths are more dangerous than any deception. The Ritz-Carlton's private dining room smelled of expensive wine and older money. Emma's hand trembled as she reached for her water glass, the unfamiliar weight of the diamond ring catching the candlelight. "Breathe," Daniel murmured against her ear, his hand settling on the small of her back. To anyone watching, it looked like an intimate gesture. To Emma, it felt like being branded. Mr. Yamamoto studied them from across the table with eyes that missed nothing. At 63, he'd built an empire on reading people's weaknesses. "Your wife is very quiet, Daniel-san." Emma felt Daniel's fingers press into her spine, a warning or encouragement. "I prefer to listen," she said, meeting Yamamoto's gaze. My husband does enough talking for both of us." Surprise flickered across the older man's face, then something like approval. Daniel's hand slid higher, his thumb tracing circles that sent electricity down her spine. A woman who knows when silence is wisdom. Yamamoto lifted his glass. "Your husband chose well." The dinner crawled by in a blur of courses Emma couldn't taste. She smiled at the right moments, laughed at jokes she didn't find funny, and felt Daniel's presence beside her like a fever. His cologne invaded her senses. His voice wrapped around her like silk. When his hand found hers under the table, their fingers intertwined with devastating ease. "You're doing perfectly," he whispered during dessert. But she wasn't. Every touch, every stolen glance felt like drowning. She'd spent 2 years building walls, and Daniel was dismantling them with calculated tenderness. In the car afterward, silence stretched between them like a living thing. "Emma." She stared out the window at Los Angeles blurring past. Don't what? Don't thank me. Don't tell me I did well. Don't," her voice cracked. "This is harder than I thought it would be." Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "If you want to stop, we made a deal." She turned to face him, and something in her expression made him flinch. "I'm not backing out. But you need to understand something, Daniel. Every time you touch me like that, every time you look at me like I'm yours, it's not easy to remember this is fake." The confession hung between them, raw and dangerous. "Emma," his voice was rough, "I never meant to just drive." The mansion was dark when they arrived, except for the light in Grace's room. Emma's heart clenched. She'd promised to check on her before bed. "I should go see her," Emma said, already reaching for the door. Daniel caught her wrist. "Wait." She froze, pulse hammering where his fingers pressed against her skin. "What you said in the car." He wasn't looking at her. "About it being hard to remember this is fake." "Is that because—" He stopped. Started again. "Do you have feelings for me?" The question stripped her bare. Emma could lie. Should lie, but exhaustion and emotion made her reckless. "What do you want me to say, Daniel? That I've spent 2 years watching you mourn a woman I'll never measure up to? That every time you walk past me like I'm invisible, it hurts? That tonight, pretending to be yours, was the closest I'll ever get to something I want so badly it terrifies me?" His grip on her wrist tightened. "Emma, let me go. I can't." The words hung between them, loaded with meaning neither of them was ready to face. Then Grace's voice floated through the intercom. "Emma, are you home?" The spell broke. Emma yanked her arm free and practically ran for the house, leaving Daniel sitting in the car with the weight of her confession crushing his chest. Upstairs, Grace was sitting up in bed, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Bad dream?" Emma asked softly, settling beside her. "I dreamed you went away." Grace's voice was small, like Mommy did. Emma pulled the little girl close, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. "I'm not going anywhere, sunshine." "Promise?" "I promise." But even as she said it, Emma knew promises were just another kind of lie. In 5 days this would be over. She'd go back to being just the nanny, and Daniel would return to being the untouchable man she loved from a distance. After Grace fell asleep, Emma returned to her room to find an envelope slipped under her door. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a note in Daniel's sharp handwriting. First payment. "Your mother's surgery is scheduled for next week. I took the liberty of handling the arrangements. Consider it an advance on your salary." Emma stared at the check until the numbers blurred. He'd just saved her mother's life. How was she supposed to protect her heart from a man like that? Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk about Daniel Blackwood. What you're doing is dangerous. You don't know who he really is." Emma's blood ran cold. Emma deleted the text, but sleep wouldn't come. At 2 a.m., she found herself in the mansion's library, moonlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Couldn't sleep either? She spun to find Daniel in the doorway, hair disheveled, wearing only pajama pants. The sight of his bare chest made her mouth go dry. "Bad habit of mine," she managed. He moved closer, and she caught the scent of scotch on his breath. "About what you said in the car." "Forget I said anything. I can't." He stopped inches away. "Do you have any idea how many times I've wanted to cross that line? How many nights I've stood outside your door and forced myself to walk away." Emma's heart stopped. "What? You think I don't see you, Emma? You think I haven't noticed the way you bite your lip when you're nervous? Or how you hum when you cook Grace breakfast? You think I didn't feel it every time we accidentally touched? You're drunk, I'm honest." His hand came up to cup her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. "I'm terrified, and I'm so goddamn tired of pretending." "Pretending what?" "That I don't want this." He kissed her then, and Emma's world tilted. His mouth was hungry, desperate, tasting of expensive scotch and poor decisions. She should push him away. Should remember this was just another lie. Instead, she kissed him back. They stumbled against the bookshelf, hands exploring, boundaries crumbling. Daniel's fingers tangled in her hair, while hers traced the planes of his chest, memorizing every scar and muscle. "Tell me to stop," he breathed against her neck. "Don't stop." But a door slammed somewhere in the house, and reality crashed back. They broke apart, both breathing hard. "This is insane," Emma whispered. "I know. We have a deal. 5 more days of pretending. That's it," Daniel's jaw clenched. "What if I don't want it to be pretend anymore?" Before Emma could respond, her phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. "Check the folder in his desk. Bottom drawer, left side. Then tell me you really know him." Emma's blood ran cold. "I should go." Emma, wait. But she was already gone, fleeing to her room with the taste of him still on her lips and doubt poisoning her mind. The next morning, Emma woke to Grace jumping on her bed. "Emma! Daddy says we're going shopping." "For the gala tonight." The charity gala. Emma had forgotten. Another evening of pretending. Except now everything felt different. Dangerous. Daniel was waiting downstairs, looking devastatingly handsome in a casual suit. When his eyes met hers, heat flooded her body, remembering his hands, his mouth, the desperation in his voice. "Morning," he said softly. Grace babbled about princess dresses while they drove to Rodeo Drive, oblivious to the tension crackling between the adults. In the boutique, Emma tried on gown after gown, each more expensive than her yearly salary. "Try the red one," Daniel said, his voice rough. When Emma emerged from the dressing room in crimson silk that clung to every curve, his expression made her knees weak. "Perfect," he breathed. That evening, the gala was a blur of champagne and false smiles. Emma played her role flawlessly, Daniel's arm around her waist, his lips occasionally brushing her temple. But every touch felt like a lie now, tainted by that unknown warning. "Excuse me for a moment," she murmured during dinner. In the bathroom, Emma stared at her reflection. Who was she anymore? The responsible nanny? The woman drowning in debt? Or the fool falling for a man she didn't really know? Her phone buzzed again. Time's up. Ask him about Rebecca's accident. Ask him who was driving. Emma's hands shook. She thought of Daniel's devotion to Grace, his grief, the way he'd saved her mother without hesitation. But she also thought of that mysterious folder, the warnings, the gaps in her knowledge. Back at the table, she forced a smile. "Daniel, can we talk?" "Privately?" In an empty hallway, surrounded by abstract art worth millions, Emma faced him. "Who was driving the car when Rebecca died?" Daniel went pale. "What?" "I said, who was driving when your wife had her accident?" "Where is this coming from?" "Answer the question." His jaw clenched. "I was." The confession hung between them like a blade. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her feet. "You were driving," she repeated slowly. "You never told anyone that. The report said she was alone." "Emma, it's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." Her voice cracked. "Tell me why someone's been warning me about you. Tell me what's in that folder in your desk." Daniel's face went white. "Who contacted you?" "Does it matter? Is it true? Did you cause the accident that killed Grace's mother?" "Emma, please let me explain." But before he could, someone cleared their throat behind them. Mr. Yamamoto stood there, his expression carved from stone. "Mr. Blackwood," he said coldly, "I believe we need to discuss your marriage. Or should I say your arrangement?" Emma's stomach dropped. Daniel's face drained of color. "How long did you think you could deceive me?" Yamamoto continued. "I had my people investigate. Emma Torres, employed as your daughter's nanny for 3 years. No marriage license. No previous relationship. You hired her to play a role. Daniel stepped forward. Sir, if you'll just let me... The deal is off. Yamamoto's voice was ice. I do business with honest men, not desperate fools who think they can buy loyalty with fake wives and pretty lies. He walked away, leaving them standing in the ruins of their deception. Emma turned to Daniel, tears streaming down her face. Is any of it real? Anything you've said to me? Emma, I can explain the accident, the folder, all of it. Just give me a chance. I gave you my trust. Her voice broke. I gave you everything and you've been lying from the beginning. So have you. Daniel's control snapped. You think I don't know? That folder, those texts, they're from Rebecca's sister. She's been trying to destroy me for 2 years, claiming I killed Rebecca deliberately. And you believed her over me. Emma stumbled backward. I don't know what to believe anymore. Believe this. He grabbed her shoulders. Last night wasn't a lie. The way I feel about you isn't pretend. I love you, Emma. I've loved you for longer than I was willing to admit. And I'm terrified because everyone I love ends up hurt. Stop. I can't lose you too. You already have. Emma pulled off the ring and pressed it into his palm. Then she walked away from Daniel Blackwood and the shattered remains of a lie that had felt too much like truth. Behind her, she heard him call her name. She didn't look back. Emma threw clothes into her suitcase with shaking hands. It was 3 a.m., and the mansion was silent except for her ragged breathing. She'd called her brother, arranged for him to pick her up at dawn. By sunrise, she'd be gone. Emma? Grace stood in the doorway, clutching her rabbit, eyes red from crying. Sunshine, you should be asleep. Daddy's crying in his room. Are you leaving because of me? Emma's heart shattered. She crossed the room and knelt in front of the little girl. No, baby. None of this is your fault. Then why are you going? Grace's voice broke. I heard Daddy say he loves you. Don't you love us back? The question destroyed her. Emma pulled Grace close, breathing in her familiar scent, memorizing the feel of her small arms. I love you more than anything in this world. Then stay. I can't. The sound of footsteps made them both turn. Daniel stood there, still in his tuxedo, looking like he'd been through war. Their eyes met, and Emma saw raw anguish reflected back at her. Grace, sweetheart, he said softly. Can you give us a minute? Are you going to make Emma stay? I'm going to try. After Grace reluctantly left, silence stretched between them like a chasm. Let me show you something, Daniel finally said. I don't want to see. Please. 5 minutes. Then if you still want to leave, I won't stop you. Against her better judgment, Emma followed him to his study. He pulled out the mysterious folder, hands shaking as he opened it. Inside were police reports, hospital records, and a letter in feminine handwriting. Rebecca's sister, Catherine, has been trying to destroy me since the accident, Daniel began, voice hollow. This is her documentation of how I supposedly murdered my wife. Emma forced herself to read. The reports detailed a single-car accident on a rainy night. Daniel driving, Rebecca in the passenger seat. Loss of control on a sharp curve. The brake line had been cut. Daniel continued. Someone wanted us dead. The police investigated, found nothing. But Catherine was convinced I did it for the insurance money, for freedom, for whatever twisted reason she invented. Why didn't you tell anyone? Because I blamed myself anyway. His voice cracked. We'd been fighting that night. About Grace, about my work, about everything. Rebecca wanted to leave, wanted a divorce. I was driving angry, distracted. When the brakes failed, I couldn't save her. Emma saw the truth in his eyes, the guilt he'd carried for 2 years. I survived with a concussion. He whispered. She didn't. And every day since, I've wondered why I got to live when she didn't. Why Grace lost her mother because I couldn't keep my family together. Daniel, I've been trying to make it right ever since. Build something for Grace. Give her the future Rebecca wanted. And then you walked into our lives and made me feel alive again. And I was terrified because everyone I love ends up hurt. Emma's vision blurred with tears. Catherine sent me those texts. She wants me to lose everything. The company, Grace, my sanity. You were just caught in her crossfire. I'm sorry. Emma's voice broke. I'm so sorry I doubted you. You had every right. He set the folder aside. I've been lying to you from the beginning. Not about my feelings, never about that. But I've been using you to save my company while knowing you were falling for me. That's unforgivable. Is the merger really dead? Daniel's laugh was bitter. Yamamoto will never work with me now. By tomorrow, word will spread. The hostile takeover will succeed. Grace's trust fund, her future, everything Rebecca worked for will be gone. Emma stared at him, pieces clicking together in her mind. Unless I can convince Yamamoto we're real. Emma, no. There has to be a way. If I can prove to him that what we have is genuine, it doesn't matter anymore. Daniel's voice was heavy with defeat. Even if you could, I won't ask you to sacrifice yourself for my mistakes. What if I want to? He looked at her, and she saw hope war with despair in his eyes. Why would you do that after everything I've put you through? Because I love Grace. Because your mother's treatment is already paid for, and my brother's tuition is covered. Because despite the lies and the fear and the absolute insanity of this situation, I fell in love with you. The confession hung between them, raw and irreversible. Emma. He crossed to her, cupping her face with trembling hands. I don't deserve you. Probably not. She smiled through tears. But Grace deserves her future. So tell me how we fix this. Daniel's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I can help you. But it will cost you. Meet me at the beach house. Dawn. Come alone. Catherine Emma's blood ran cold. It's a trap. Probably. You can't go. I have to. Daniel showed her the next message. Or I release the doctored police reports showing you drove drunk the night Rebecca died. Your daughter will think her father is a murderer. Emma grabbed his arm. She's blackmailing you. She's been blackmailing me for months. I've been paying her, hoping she'd stop. But she wants more than money. She wants to destroy me? Then we destroy her first. Daniel stared at her. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we call her bluff. We go to that meeting together, record everything, and expose her for what she is. Then we go to Yamamoto with the truth. All of it. No more lies. That's insane. You got a better plan? His laugh was raw. You realize if this fails, we lose everything? And if it works? Daniel pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. If it works, I spend the rest of my life making this up to you. Deal. They stood there in the darkness, holding each other, two broken people about to gamble everything on a desperate plan. Outside, dawn was breaking over the Pacific, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold. Emma. Daniel's voice was rough. Whatever happens today, I need you to know something. What? That kiss in the library wasn't the bourbon. It was 2 years of denial finally cracking. You've been under my skin since the day you walked into this house, and I've been too much of a coward to admit it. Emma's heart hammered. Show me. He kissed her then. Slower this time. Deeper. Like he was memorizing the taste of her. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. We should go, Emma whispered, before I lose my nerve. They drove through the empty streets of Malibu as the sun rose, neither speaking, both knowing they were heading toward a confrontation that would either save them or destroy everything. The beach house sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean. Catherine's car was already there. Ready? Daniel asked. Emma checked the recording app on her phone. Ready. They walked in together and Emma's breath caught. Catherine stood by the window, and she looked exactly like the photos Emma had seen of Rebecca. Same dark hair, same sharp features, but where Rebecca had been warm, Catherine was ice. So the nanny finally shows her face, Catherine said coldly. How touching. Whatever you want, leave Emma out of it, Daniel said. But she's already in it, isn't she? Playing house with my dead sister's family. Sleeping in her bed. I sleep in the guest suite, Emma interrupted. And I loved Grace long before any of this started. Catherine's laugh was cruel. Love, how convenient. Did Daniel tell you he was planning to divorce Rebecca? That he wanted her gone? I wanted counseling, Daniel said quietly. I wanted to save our marriage. Liar. The truth is in the police reports. Emma stepped forward. The real ones, not the ones you doctored. We have copies. We have proof of your blackmail. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk away. Delete whatever fake evidence you created. and leave this family alone. Catherine's expression turned vicious. Or what? Or we go to the police with everything, Daniel said. The blackmail, the falsified documents, the harassment. You'll lose everything. I've already lost everything. Catherine's voice broke. My sister is dead because of you. And you get to play happy families with the help? Rebecca's death was an accident, Emma said softly. And holding on to this hatred is destroying you. You don't know anything about my pain. You're right. But I know about Grace's pain. She's 6 years old and she's lost enough. Don't take her father too. For a moment, Catherine's mask cracked, and Emma saw the grief beneath. Then it hardened again. Fine, you win. I'll disappear. She pulled out her phone. But first, I want to hear you admit it, Daniel. Admit that you're glad Rebecca is dead. I'm not doing this. Then I send the files to Yamamoto. To the press. To everyone. Daniel's jaw clenched. Emma squeezed his hand. I'm not glad she's dead, he said finally. But I'm grateful for the second chance at being a better father. A better man. And if Rebecca's death taught me anything, it's that life is too short for regrets. Catherine stared at him, then at Emma. You really love her. More than I thought possible. Something shifted in Catherine's expression. Rebecca would have hated that. Rebecca would have wanted Grace to be happy, Emma said gently. And she is. We all are. Or we could be, if you'd let us. Catherine stood there for a long moment, hand hovering over her phone. Then slowly, impossibly, she deleted the files. I can't forgive you, she whispered to Daniel. But maybe I can stop trying to destroy you. She walked out, leaving them standing in the empty beach house as morning light flooded through the windows. Emma turned to Daniel. Did that really just happen? He pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. I think we just survived. What now? Now we go talk to Yamamoto. Truth time. Mr. Yamamoto's hotel suite overlooked downtown Los Angeles, morning light catching the glass and steel of the city below. Emma stood beside Daniel, her hand clasped in his, as they faced the man whose decision would determine their future. You have 5 minutes, Yamamoto said coldly. Explain why I should not have my lawyers destroy what remains of your reputation. Daniel took a breath. Because everything you believed was a lie, including the lie I told you. Yamamoto's expression didn't change, but Emma felt the shift in the room. Emma is my daughter's nanny. We've never been married. I hired her to pretend because I was desperate, and stupid and terrified of losing everything my late wife built for our daughter. You admit to deceiving me. I admit to being a coward. Daniel's voice was steady. I've spent 2 years hiding behind grief and fear, afraid to move forward, afraid to let anyone close. And when you said you only worked with stable married men, I panicked. So you purchased a wife. He didn't purchase anything, Emma interrupted. Yamamoto's sharp gaze turned to her. Daniel offered me money to help my mother, yes. But what happened between us, that was real. Messy and complicated and completely unplanned. You expect me to believe you fell in love during a deception? I expect you to believe that sometimes people find each other in the strangest circumstances. Emma met his eyes. I've been Grace's nanny for 3 years. I've watched Daniel rebuild his life piece by piece. I've seen him sacrifice his own happiness for his daughter's future. And yes, I fell in love with him. Not because he paid me. Because he's worth loving. Even though he lied to you. Especially because he's willing to stand here and lose everything rather than keep lying. Yamamoto studied them both for a long moment. Why should I trust anything you say? Because I'm not asking you to. Daniel pulled out a folder. These are the real financial records for my company. Not the sanitized version I showed you before. We're in worse shape than I admitted. The hostile takeover is inevitable without your merger. Grace will lose her trust fund. I'll lose the company Rebecca and I built together. Then you have nothing to offer me. I have the truth. I have a team of brilliant engineers who've developed technology that could revolutionize your industry. I have the willingness to work harder than anyone you've ever met to prove I deserve this chance. Daniel's voice roughened. And I have something I didn't have before. Someone who makes me want to be better than my worst mistakes. Emma's eyes burned with tears. Yamamoto stood and walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. The silence stretched until Emma thought she might scream. "My wife died 15 years ago," he finally said. "Cancer. I was 48 and alone with 2 teenage children. Everyone told me to remarry for stability. For appearance, I refused." He turned to face them. "Do you know why I only work with married men, Mr. Blackwood? Because you believe they're more stable. Because I believe they understand sacrifice. A good marriage requires honesty, even when it's painful. Compromise, even when it costs you. And the courage to admit when you're wrong." Yamamoto's expression softened slightly. "You came here willing to lose everything rather than continue a lie. That takes courage." Daniel's hand tightened on Emma's. "Sir, I don't understand." "I knew your marriage was fake the moment I saw you together at dinner." Emma's stomach dropped. "What?" "You looked at each other like teenagers discovering love for the first time. Married couples of 3 years do not look at each other that way. They are comfortable, familiar. You were electric. Then why didn't you say something?" "Because I wanted to see what you would do. Whether you would maintain the deception or find the courage to tell the truth." Yamamoto returned to his chair. "My investigation revealed more than your fake marriage, Mr. Blackwood. It revealed your late wife's sister's attempts at blackmail, your financial sacrifices to protect your daughter, and Emma Torres' character." He looked at Emma. "You could have walked away with your payment and left this man to his fate. Instead, you stayed. Why?" "Because he's family," Emma said simply. "He and Grace both. And you don't abandon family when things get hard." Yamamoto nodded slowly. "The merger will proceed. But on one condition." Daniel leaned forward. "Anything. You will marry this woman, truly. Not for business or appearance, but because she is clearly the partner you need and deserve." He paused. "And because if you hurt her, I will personally ensure your company fails." Emma's heart stopped. Daniel turned to her, and she saw her own shock reflected in his eyes. "Sir," Daniel said carefully, "I appreciate your faith in us, but Emma deserves better than a marriage that started as a business arrangement." "Then make it more than that." Yamamoto stood. "You have 3 months. Plan a real wedding. Build a real foundation. Show me that you understand what partnership truly means. Then we finalize the merger." After he left, Emma and Daniel stood in stunned silence. "He just made our fake engagement real," Emma whispered. "We don't have to do this." Daniel turned to her. "I can find another way to save the company. I won't trap you in a marriage you don't want." "Who says I don't want it?" His breath caught. "Emma, I told you I fell in love with you. I meant it." She stepped closer. "But I need to know this is real for you too. Not gratitude or convenience or desperation. Real." Daniel cupped her face with both hands. "When Rebecca died, I thought I'd never feel anything again. Then you walked into my house with your terrible coffee and your beautiful smile, and slowly, without me even realizing it, you brought me back to life. That's not an answer." "I'm terrified," he admitted. "I'm terrified I'll mess this up, that I'll lose you the way I lost her, that I'm not enough for someone as incredible as you." "Daniel Blackwood, are you asking me to marry you or talking yourself out of it?" He laughed, and it sounded like hope. "I'm asking if you'd be crazy enough to marry a disaster of a man who comes with a 6-year-old daughter, a haunted mansion, and enough emotional baggage to sink a ship. Only if you're crazy enough to marry a small-town nanny who ugly cries at rom-coms and burns toast. Deal." He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they broke apart, both were smiling through tears. "We should tell Grace," Emma said. "She's going to lose her mind." They drove back to the mansion hand in hand, the morning sun painting the Pacific in shades of gold. Inside, they found Grace eating cereal with the housekeeper. "Emma!" She launched herself into Emma's arms. "You came back!" "I'll always come back, sunshine." Grace pulled back, studying Emma's face with 6-year-old wisdom. "Are you staying forever now?" Daniel knelt beside them. "How would you feel if Emma became your real mommy?" Grace's eyes went wide. "Really, really real?" "Really, really real," Emma confirmed. "If that's okay with you. It's the best thing ever." Grace threw her arms around both of them. "We can be a real family." Emma met Daniel's eyes over Grace's head, and she saw her future reflected there. messy and complicated and absolutely perfect. That evening, as they tucked Grace into bed, the little girl looked between them with a serious expression. "I have a question." "What is it, Sunshine?" Emma asked. "When you and Daddy get married, can I be the flower girl?" Daniel laughed. "You can be whatever you want. And can we get a puppy?" "Don't push your luck, kiddo," Emma said, kissing her forehead. After Grace fell asleep, Daniel pulled Emma onto the terrace. The ocean stretched before them, stars beginning to emerge in the darkening sky. "Are you sure about this?" he asked softly. "About us? I've never been more sure of anything." Emma turned in his arms. "We started with a lie, but somewhere along the way it became the truth. That's gotta count for something. It counts for everything." He kissed her under the stars, and Emma thought about all the paths that had led them here, the grief and fear and desperate choices, the lies that had cracked open to reveal something real underneath. "I love you," Daniel whispered against her lips. "Not because you saved my company or because you're amazing with Grace. I love you because you made me remember how to hope. I love you too," Emma said. "Even though you're emotionally unavailable and have terrible taste in wine." His laugh was warm. "We're going to be a disaster." "Probably. And I can't wait." 3 months later, Emma walked down the aisle in a simple white dress, Grace scattering rose petals ahead of her. Daniel waited at the altar with tears in his eyes, and when she reached him, he took her hand like he was holding something precious. "Who gives this woman to be married?" the officiant asked. "She gives herself," Emma said firmly, "and she's exactly where she wants to be." The ceremony was small, just close friends and family. Mr. Yamamoto attended, giving them an approving nod. Catherine stood in the back, and when Emma caught her eye, she offered a small smile. Forgiveness was a process, but they'd started walking that road together. When Daniel kissed his bride, Grace cheered loudly from the front row, and the small gathering laughed with joy. Later at the reception, Daniel pulled Emma onto the dance floor. "Mrs. Blackwood," he murmured, "how does it feel?" "Like coming home," Emma said honestly. "Like finding something I didn't know I was looking for." "I was thinking," he said as they swayed to the music. "Maybe it's time we hired a new nanny." Emma pulled back. "What? But Grace needs her mother to be her mother, not her employee," Daniel smiled. "I want you to be my partner in everything. The company, raising Grace, building our life, not just the woman who takes care of us." "Daniel Blackwood, are you asking me to be a stay-at-home mom?" "I'm asking you to be whatever you want to be. Work at the company, start your own business, go back to school, whatever makes you happy. I just don't want you to feel like the help anymore." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I never felt like the help. Not with you." "Good, because you're stuck with me now. Promise?" "Promise." They danced as the sun set over the Pacific, surrounded by people they loved, building a future that had started with a lie and transformed into something beautifully true. Grace ran up, tugging on Emma's dress. "Can we go home now? I want to show you the drawing I made of our family." "Let's see it, Sunshine," Emma said, scooping her up. Grace held up a crayon drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands in front of a big house. "That's Daddy, that's you, and that's me. And that's our home." Emma looked at the simple drawing, at this child who'd claimed her heart years ago, at the man who'd saved her mother's life and stolen her soul. "Yes," she said, pulling them both close. "That's our home," and it was, not perfect, not without scars or struggles or moments of doubt, but real, and that made all the difference. The end.